Wow! What's happening, everybody? It's your boy. I can't sing, but that sounds good to me. I'm back. Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette is back on the air. I am he, Stanley Doucette. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For all those that have not had the pleasure or the opportunity to listen to any of our podcasts, I want to say thank you for joining us today. Listen, this podcast today is very special. As a matter of fact, even before we came on the air, it has already transformed things as we have been beginning to record. I'm excited. I can't wait to share this with you guys. It is all that and then some. Listen, I have literally prayed that this particular podcast touch whoever it needs to touch, tens of thousands of people or just one person. I just want to make sure we're doing exactly what it is we have to do on the Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette podcast. I am overjoyed to share this with you today. Listen, this is the second time for this season, I think it is, that I'm riding solo today. And I'm doing this for a specific reason. I wanted to share a couple things. We shared something once before on the power of revelation, and it was an overwhelming success. It reached so many people and touched them in a massive amount of ways of goodness, grace, and all of those other adjectives I can give, but I'm just, you guys get the point. The other piece today I'm going to be talking about, I'll give you that title in a second, but I want the same thing to happen. I wanted to go into this in a specific mindset to make sure as we're touching people, that is really touching them. You know, a lot of times people give these fake podcasts, I call it, or fake talks and all those things. Today, this is not fake. This is not for play. This is not for games. This is specifically to mend people's hearts, specifically to go into their soul, their spirits, to wash that all up. It is specifically to talk to your body, to talk to your minds, to talk to everything, because I believe in this power, right? Listen, before I give the title, I know I'm kind of teasing y'all, but I just want to say this really fast. It's a quick commercial brought to you by Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. Listen, I'm on all of the podcast platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. We're in 170 plus countries on all of the podcast platforms. I think it's like 10 or 12 or 15 podcast platforms we on as well, from the Spotify's to the Apple Music to the Google podcast. So I can go on and on and on. But I want to make sure that you guys, if you would do me a favor, just go there, like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Go to some of our older podcasts and listen to those, because we believe in uplifting people. We believe in empowering people. It doesn't matter if you're on a dance show, or it doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete. It doesn't matter if you're a stay-home mom or you have a powerful career. We don't care about titles here, but we want to continue to uplift, build, and bring people together so we can continue to raise this country, raise this world, and make it a better place, right? I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, in United States. I want to shout out to all of my people in the Far East. I want to shout out to all of my people that's in Germany. I want to shout out to all of my people that's in London. I want to shout out to all of my people in Australia. Shout out to all of my folks and my family in Africa. Listen, everybody that's an Indian, I'm shouting you out. Shout out to my heritage in Haiti and France. I can go on and on and on, but I just wanted to shout everybody out. Pass this message along, because this one here, I believe, is going to touch. So now that the commercials are out, oh, one other thing. If you want to join the podcast one week, if you have a special something you want me to discuss or talk about or bring it to the platform, just hit me up on my email. Excuse me, hit me up on the email. Let's talk with Stanley D at gmail.com. That's LETSTALKWITHSTANLEY, D as in David, at gmail.com. Let's talk with Stanley D at gmail.com. Shoot me up. Just let me know what you feel about the actual platform, any questions that you have, and we're going to go from there. If you guys looking at me on the YouTube, you guys see me getting my notes together. This is another one that I actually had to write notes for, because I wanted to make sure that I have everything that I need for this podcast. Now, it's only going to be 5 points today, so it'll probably be a relatively quick podcast, unless I just start talking and go from there. So, what I want to do right now is just kind of, I think it was the last few podcasts, I was kind of doing some things a little differently, just kind of testing it out to see it. I remember I did a podcast on Revelations, and if you guys haven't heard that one, I think is worth the opportunity to at least go back and listen to and kind of refresh yourself. And then this one today, listen to this, man. I literally was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about today, and it was just going back and forward, and then it hit me. So one time I talked about the power of revelation, right? Today's topic, I want you guys to hear this. Today's topic is the power of grace. The power of grace. So whatever you're doing, get something to take some notes with, write it down. I'm just going to give you a quick few points, and then from there, you can do whatever it is that you have to do, study it. But I believe in this so hard that I wanted to share it with you. Just some personal thoughts, some personal beliefs. And also, I think it's something that will bring us all together even better. See, I want to talk to relationships. I want to talk to individuals. I want to talk to my friends that I have the opportunity to mentor and coach and teach. I want to talk to those that teach me. I want to talk to those that pour into me. I want to talk to those that love me. I want to talk to those that even hate me. I want to talk to everybody, because I believe with this, the power of grace is going to do some wonderful, wonderful things. It is just my belief. Now, if you don't believe me, I understand. But once you finish this podcast, then you let me know how you feel and send me a message, and we'll go from there. Right. So, before, when we talked about Revelation, I'm kind of putting these together, but I just want you guys to remember, in Revelation, we was talking about revelation and how it triggers joy, and revelation, how it's an unveiling opportunity. We talked about revelation and how it removes speculation, revelation and how it proclaims identity, and you talk about revelation grants authority. So those are the 5 things we talked about on revelation. But today, because we're talking about the power of grace, literally the power of grace, I want you guys to think about this. First of all, let me talk about grace and how I feel grace is. I have so many notes and I'm looking all around, but grace is something that I think all of us need to have even more of, right? Even when those individuals, you ride in the car and somebody give you the middle finger because you didn't see them and they mad and upset, give them grace. When somebody says something really dumb and stupid, retarded, give them grace. Now, I'm not saying to be crazy. I say give them grace, right? When people do some outlandish things, just bring them grace. Let me share with you guys. I'm looking for my definition. I can't find it. I had it written down. But let me say what I'm feeling. So number 1, write this down. Number one, write this down. Grace brings forth compassion. Let me say that again. Grace brings forth compassion. So it brings forth compassion. Now, some of you may not know I'm originally from New Orleans, so if my words get twisted and all that stuff, please forgive me. I'm trying to articulate it as best as I can, but some words just get all twisted up in my tongue. But I just wanted to make sure we all understand. So number 1, class. I always wanted to say that, class. So number 1, grace brings forth compassion. Let me read this thing about compassion. Compassion motivates people to go out of their way to help the physical, mental, or emotional plans of another and themselves. Let me say that again. Compassion motivates people to go out of their way to help the physical, to help the mental, to help the emotional pains of another and themselves. Listen, guys, a lot of times when we go through things and you're talking about showing people compassion. See, when we show compassion, it opens up things for other people, because most of the time you may be suffering with something in a silent pain or a physical pain or an emotional pain. But when you're talking about sharing grace, that means you're talking to that individual who may be in one of those states, and you're sharing just just being there and you giving them that grace and you're opening up your heart, your spirit to pour into them and to lift them up. You're sharing that grace because you love them. See, now I know everybody doesn't believe in the Bible, but my belief is in the Bible. Let me just share this with you. The Bible says, we are commanded to love each other. And when you're loving each other, you're going to share grace with people, even though they may say something really crazy, even though they may do something really crazy. Share grace. Now, I'm not saying be stupid. I say share grace. If somebody, hit you for some unforeseen reason, that's a whole nother subject, but share grace. But I didn't say stay there and keep getting beat, right? What I want you to do is understand sharing grace and compassion with someone is opening up something, because you understand that they may be in a mental state that they don't understand. Let me give you an example, right? I remember on the police department, and some of you guys know in my former life, as I like to call it, I was a police officer. And I remember when people were on crack and they were high and they were out of their mind and they were doing some crazy things, right? And a lot of people would ask, why are you doing this? And what's wrong with you? And why are you on heroin? Or why are you on crack? Or why are you this? And why are you that? And they never share with them compassion. Here is just a thought. I had someone, and unfortunately, they were strung out on heroin and they were just starting to come to. And unfortunately, I had to bring them to lockup because they were caught in what's called possession of heroin. So when I was going to lockup, and we was going to the jail to to process them, what happened was we had a conversation, and in that conversation, he asked me. He said, officer. I was going to say Stanley. He said, officer. He said, you treated me so nice. He said, why? Are you about to take me somewhere and beat me up? I was like, no, I'm not. He said, I've never had someone to actually treat me nice. He said, I have an addiction. He said, I'm not trying to have an addiction, but I have an addiction. He said, but I want to thank you because no one ever just treated me as a human being. Everybody have shunned me. Everybody talks about me. Everybody talks about why you can't get off of this heroin thing, or why are you still doing drugs? And a lot of people don't know, Stanley, I've been trying. Oh, you said, officer, I've been trying, but I can't. And if you study heroin and all of those things, you'll understand that story and why he couldn't. Here is my point, though. I just wanted to share grace with him. It wasn't to look down upon him. It wasn't to share with him that he's bad and he's scum of the earth. It was to share compassion, because guess what? There was once upon a time where Stanley was drunk somewhere and somebody showed me compassion to bring me home, or to make sure I was okay, to make sure I was good. See, I'm talking about Stanley, but what's that thing that you did and someone showed you compassion? See, don't get on the high hog. Don't think that you're all that and then some. Don't think you're that person that can't be humble. Let me just share this with you guys, just real fast. If all you need to do is get humbled by God one time, you will never go back down that road again. Let me say that again. Just get humbled by God one time, you will never go back down that road. So why am I sharing this? We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And everybody will say, oh, I made a mistake. And now don't use that as an excuse, but we all make mistakes and we fall short of the glory of God. We understand that. In this, when you're showing compassion to that individual, don't look down on them. No, because that could be you. You're one mistake away from that being you. You're one mistake away from being in all of that craziness. So when you're talking about compassion, don't do that. I have another thing that's written down. Let me see what it says. Compassion is also regarded as having sensitivity, which is an emotional aspect of suffering. Oh my God, let me read that again. Compassion is often regarded as having sensitivity, which is an emotional aspect of suffering, which is an emotional aspect of suffering. How many of us suffer from things in silence? And we want people to share grace and all of that stuff, but we are going through things in silence, and we're suffering, and we have sensitivity to things, but we're afraid to get out and share. Here's why most people don't want to share: because we don't have that compassion for our brother or for our sister. We don't have compassion for our friend or our relative. We don't even have compassion for the people that's closest to us, right? We don't have that compassion. But what we would do is we would try to tear them down. We would try to rip their heart out, make them feel terrible. Why? Because you may be suffering yourself from something. Guys, ladies, men, women, wherever you are in the world, we have to show compassion. We have to show that level of love, that intellect of power of grace is what we're talking about. So remember, number one, grace brings forth compassion. Grace brings forth compassion. Let's go to number two. Let's go to number two. Now, this is going to get caught in some of y'all throat, but it's okay. Let's go to number two. Grace brings forth kind words. Let me say that again. Grace brings forth kind words. Have you ever been somewhere and you just literally start going off or you hear somebody going off for no reason, just no reason at all? Somebody is going off. Let me share something with you guys. It costs us nothing to share kind words with someone. You know, you would see somebody fell on hard luck or bad times. You would see sometimes, in the last one I was talking about an addiction, or you may see someone that's homeless that have fallen on hard times. For whatever reason, they can't get themselves together or they can't get on their feet. Well, it doesn't cost us anything to share a kind word with that human being. It doesn't cost words to say thank you. It doesn't cost anything to say, hey, I'm praying for you, or whatever you want to articulate. It doesn't cost a thing to say, hey, I want to make sure that you're good today. Have a great day. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It just doesn't make sense that we can't share kind words. Let me also say this: just by a raise of hands. Now, if you're driving, you can't raise your hand. You can't raise your hand. But if you're stationary somewhere, just raise your hand. If you have a boss that sometimes just get on your last nerve, yep, just raise your hand, bump your horn, do something, right? Let me share this with you guys to throw them off their game, because this is a good one. Your boss coming in, he's angry, he's upset, or I shouldn't say your boss. I believe there's only one boss, and that's the creator. That's God. That's my opinion. There's no other boss but one. Now, there's supervisors and vice president and presidents of companies and all of those things, but there's only one boss that we should listen to. That's just my opinion. You don't have to believe me, but that's that. So here is something to help throw your supervisor, your manager off, right? So when he's on his high horse or she's on her high horse and she going in and she's upset and she's yelling at everybody, give them a compliment. Oh, I like your shoes. Oh, I like the way your fingernails look. Oh, I like the way, who cut your hair? That looks really nice. It looks really nice on you. Thank you so much. Tell them how wonderful they are. Just share something with them. What that does is it throws them off, right? So if you're sharing with somebody, say, hey, you know what? I really like the way you did X, Y, and Z project last week. Or, hey, I like the way you really talked to that individual last week. What happens is it begins to break some of that negativity that's there. And when you're sharing those kind words, it begins to be like, oh, now see, the subliminal message to that is, I'm sharing this with you because you're being a fool over here. Now, what happens is when you share, now they may get mad. Well, why are you giving me a compliment? And then let them hear that out loud. Let me make sure I get this right. You don't want me to compliment you on how you treated this young man last week? You don't want me to do that? just that right there. It's that simple. Kind words goes a long way. What is that saying? People don't know you care until you show them that you care, right? So when you're sharing those kind words and you mean those kind words, that means you're caring for that individual. Now you're lifting them up because you're giving them grace, because grace brings forth kind words. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Now, the next one, let me, where's my notes? The next one is grace brings forth timely provisions. Grace brings forth timely provision because you're operating under the Father, because you're doing what's right because it's right. You know, a lot of times you want to share grace by helping somebody do something, and it may cause for resources, provisions. So when you're needing provision because you're sharing grace with individuals, right? Just listen to this. Because you're sharing that grace, and you may need some provisions. All of a sudden, remarkably, somebody walks in the door and say, "Hey, you know what? I got 5 computers, and because you're doing what's right because it's right, you're sharing grace, let's say with students, but you don't have something to give to these 5 students." And somebody walk in and say, "Hey, you know what? My cousin got 5 computers he would like to give away to some students." That is timely provision. Think about it. How many times you wanted to do something for someone and you just didn't have whatever it is? You just couldn't get it done, but you're doing it out of the love of your heart. You're doing it without any type of, self awareness, any type of thing that you're trying to bring to yourself or self edification. None of that. All you're trying to do is get this student, or you're trying to get this man or this woman to have something, and you just share, like, I want to get, whatever it is. And all of a sudden it walks in your door, or all of a sudden you get a phone call and say, whatever this is, and it walks right in there. See, your creator works in such a way to where when you're doing his work for him, he's doing work for you. He's not going to have you do something and don't provide it. We have to make sure we keep that clear. So as you're building, whether it's a business, whether you're building a relationship, whether you're building love, whether you're building an understanding, if you're doing it under his authority, if you're doing it because it's him, if you're doing what's right because it's right, if you're looking to make sure you're lifting people up, I can guarantee you, God is not going to allow you to fail. He's going to lift you up. He's going to make sure you have the provisions to make those things happen. So people wonder why those nonprofits excel. People wonder why certain people in business excel. People wonder why certain churches or certain individuals, they continue to excel, is because they're operating in their gift. Now, let me just share this with you real quick. Those provisions will come, but sometimes they may not come just as easy as that. I know sometimes we always want, this is a control thing for a lot of us. So we want things to come when we want them to come. They're not always going to come when we want them to come. But as they say, but it's going to be right on time. It's going to be right on time. So we have to make sure, as we're operating in grace and as we're sharing grace with individuals, that we understand that our provisions will come in the right time. And once those provisions come, that's a word for me. Let me just clap. Let me clap my own self, because listen, there's a lot of times where I'm frustrated. I want things to come right now. I'm trying to control the situation. I'm trying to make that happen for me. I'm trying, because I know if I get it, I can help, tens and thousands and the hundreds of thousands more people. And I'm like, come on, God, I'm doing this for you. I'm operating properly. I'm doing what's right because it's right. We're lifting people up. I'm crying out. I'm screaming. I'm doing all of those things. I'm laid prostrate. I'm speaking in tongues. I'm opening up heaven. I'm praying for people. I'm doing all of those things. And yet I'm suffering with certain things because I need some provisions to do other things to help more people. Let me share with you, if that's you and you're operating sometimes and you feel that, it is just because it's not the right time yet. Remember those last 3 letters, Y-E-T, yet. It's not the right time yet. It's not the right opportunity yet. It's not the right time yet. But when it's the right time, let me just speak to this. When it's the right time, it is going to hit you in such a way where it's going to blow you away. That brings up something else. Make sure that you have built all of the capacity to receive your blessing. I don't know why this popped up, but let me just share this. So when you are, let's say you build growing a tree, and you give it certain fertilizers to make it grow and make sure it's healthy and all of that stuff. Just think, you don't pour the whole bag of fertilizer in the ground because it's going to have the tree operate outside of what the God-given gift was it for it to grow. What it's going to do is going to make it grow too fast and it's going to die. In other cases, if you don't give it fertilizer, it's going to not make it grow and it'll die, right? So when you mix everything together in its proper form, give it the right amount of water, it's going to grow properly and it's going to grow high, tall, strong, and all of those things. I share that because if God decides to bless you and you're not ready to receive that particular blessing, it can kill you. See, every good thing has to come in the right time because if it's in the wrong time, it can hurt you. And my creator talks about how he will not do anything to hurt you. But if you literally try to push God, it doesn't matter how much you scream, cry, fuss, talk. Now I'm talking to me, and some of y'all might just be listening to me talk to me, but hey, if you in that space and you just want that blessing to come right now, and it hasn't come, that just simply means it's not your time yet. But when your time comes, I promise you it's going to be at the right time with everything involved, and it's going to be such a remarkable blessing that you will not forget. See, that timely provision will hit your house, your car, your pocketbook, your bank account, your cryptocurrency, or whatever it is you want that blessing to be. It's going to hit you at the right time because he knows that you're going to uplift and continue to do his work. And there's an abundance of favor that will hit your life. I'm telling you, mark my words. Just watch. Just mark. If you're looking at YouTube channel, y'all see what I'm doing. Listen, go to my YouTube channel and see some of my crazy faces. But look, go to YouTube channel. Oh, and on the YouTube channel, make sure you put in there LET''S. Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. If you do it any other way, it's not going to come up. So I just want to shout y'all out. So remember, number one, grace brings forth compassion. Number two, grace brings forth kind words. Number three, grace brings forth timely provision. Number four, write this down. Grace brings courteous deeds. You're doing deeds for people, and it kind of mix it up in someone. But you do deeds for things, you're being courteous and you're doing deeds for things. You're not doing it to be seen. Hello, some of my selfish people out there that's listening to me and knows. Let me talk to y'all. You do courteous things not to be seen. You do courteous things not to be selfish. So when you're doing courteous deeds, you're not doing it to be seen. You're doing it to be an absolute blessing to someone else. I hope that makes sense. So courteous deeds. I remember the late Bishop Eddie Long. We used to have these deeds or these cards that we used to, when we did just a courteous deed for somebody, who would just write it down and just share it with the whole audience. I mean, it was. People were just doing abundance of courteous deeds all the time. And even those people that never did courteous deeds, because the entire church got around this particular, I'll say, thing that we were doing, right? Even some of the negative people started doing courteous deeds. Here's what I'm saying when I talk about courteous deeds. Again, like we said about kind words, a courteous deed, a courteous deed can be just opening a door for a lady or a man coming into the office or into the shopping mall or wherever it may be. You can just simply have courteous deeds happen and transpire every single day. But you don't have to do it in a way to where you want to be seen. Do it in love. Do it in power. Allow that person to see them smile. Just think about this. There was a couple of days ago, I was with myself. I went to a supermarket, and this lady was struggling with some of her groceries, and all I did simply was just help her put the groceries in the car and said, "Have a great day," and walked away. Courteous deed. Didn't look for $1, didn't look for 45 cents, didn't look for anything. It just did a courteous deed. Had a conversation a couple days ago with a young man that we were mentoring, and just had those conversations and began to talk to her mom or his mom. And I don't want to tell y'all what I did because then that would be trying to put it public. But we just had a courteous deed that was done right there on the spot. So those courteous deeds, we want to do those things in a way to where we understand the love and the power and the passion that we share with one another. All right. So those are the four things. Let me give you number five. Now, number five, we all need to work on this. I know some of y'all think y'all good, but we all need to work on. We all need to work on this. We gonna continue to go be powerful. We're gonna continue to love. We're gonna continue to do our things, but we need to all work on this one. I'm gonna just say that. Yeah, we just yeah, yeah. We need to work on this one because this one is all that in the bag of chips. So, all right, let me give y'all the first four again. Grace brings forth compassion. Grace brings forth kind words. Grace brings forth timely provisions. Grace brings forth courteous deeds. Here is the last one. I put this one last on purpose. Grace brings forth patience. Grace brings forth patience. Now let me share with you guys something that I wrote down about patience. Yes, I know. Some listen. Somewhere we used to say, if you can't say amen, just say ouch. If you can't say nothing, just shake your head. Just stomp your feet. Just something, right? You don't have to even acknowledge you need to work on patience. Just because if you that one riding down the street right now, blowing your horn at somebody because they didn't take off, we're gonna practice grace via patience. All right. So let me share this with you guys. Patience is the companion of wisdom. Oh, yes, yes, yes. All right, all right. Patience is the companion of wisdom. I got another definition too, but that one there, patience is the companion of wisdom. If you think about this, if you be patient and you have the opportunity to just relate, if you have the opportunity to just think, if you have the opportunity to not press and just allow yourself to go through all of the guidance and all of those things, it's going to help. Matter of fact, let me read the second part to you, and I think this will help explain it even better. All right. So it simply says, patience is taking the time to reflect on past experiences, to engage trusted colleagues, and to make decisions based on all available information. That's mind-boggling, guys. That's fine. Listen, when I was just talking about before about timely provisions, and sometimes I'm screaming out, I'm laid prostrate and I'm praying and all of these other things, and I could probably hear God saying, my poor child, it's just, my poor child. Y'all need to look at YouTube. This is good. But my poor child, it's gonna be all right, son. It's gonna be all right. And I'm screaming for help, right? But I didn't have the patience. Listen, let me read this again to you. Patience is taking the time to reflect on past experiences, to engage trusted colleagues, and to make decisions based on all available information. If I'm screaming and I'm talking to God, first of all, I need to understand that God is God. God is all knowing. God is God. He has me in a place in a certain situation for a reason. But me being impatient and not patient, not understanding, he didn't want to give me this blessing because if he did, such and such was going to come behind and I'll just say, cancel that line of whatever. So I couldn't get this particular business because they were going to cancel it in 2 years. I'm telling you experience of what I've seen happen. I didn't get a certain business done or a certain business deal done. I was furious. I was mad. I was upset. I was all of those things. And then 2 years later, that whole industry just was removed. Now think about if I had invested, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars into this particular industry. And then next thing you know, God removed, it was just removed for no reason. Think about it, what I mean by I say that. Just think about if you were in the position today to invest in home telephones, household telephones. Back in the day, they were hot. Just think about investing into them now, and you didn't do it. See, because you had the opportunity to be patient, because you had the opportunity to reflect on past experiences and talk to trusted colleagues, we were able to make a decision based on all of the available information. So once we made a decision based on all of the available information, and we saw the entire society moving from home phones to mobile devices, then that was like, yeah, it may not make sense to drop X amount of dollars into this. Let's just move and go into this direction. See, what happened is that's when you're being patient. That's when you're being smart. That's when you bring in wisdom to the table, because you're seeing how much all of this is work. See, when you're showing grace via patience and you're doing those things, it begins to also open up revelation. I'm not going to get into revelation. We did that one already, but it's going to open up different revelations. It's going to open up different aha moments for you. It's going to open up so many different things. It's also going to reveal. It's going to reveal things that you didn't even know. So when you start talking about revealing something you didn't even know, but because you were patient and you were very, very calm and very intentional. One of my friends used that a lot, use the word intentional. Shout out to you. You know who I'm talking about. I can't put you on my podcast today. But they always use the word intentional, right? I'm going to be intentional about this. Think about this. Seriously, when you're being intentional about being patient, and you're being intentional about using courteous deeds, and when you're being intentional about timely provision, and when you're intentional about using kind words, and when you're intentional about having compassion, because what happens is it becomes to become part of you, and it goes no longer from a struggle to now it just comes and flows naturally. See, patience brings things forward that we never knew that was there, because that wisdom now hits and say, you know what, we might not want to go in that direction. Patience is the thing that I ain't gonna say y'all, let me talk to myself. Patience is the thing that I struggle with a lot, because there are certain things I want to do. For an example, I want to do so much more mentoring and empowerment and all of those things. Unfortunately, listen to this. Sometimes I don't have the provisions to do that, but now I'm screaming and yelling and all of these other things to God, and God just sitting there and saying, child, just be patient. I got you. If I've already made the determination that I'm going to bless you, just be patient. And sometimes we get frustrated with ourselves because we're not just being ourselves, but we're also trying to be God. See, once he has given you his word, he's not a human. He's not changing his minds. He's not altering it. He said he's going to bless you. And if you believe he's going to bless you, we just have to have the patience to know when the right time comes, it's going to be massive. When the right time comes, it's going to be all that in a bag of chips. See, the power of grace begins to incorporate all of that and more, because we are those people that have the opportunity every single day to share and show grace to a multitude of people. It doesn't matter if you like them or not. It doesn't matter if you're in love with them or you hate them. It doesn't matter. Just share grace. Just share grace. See, when you share grace, you share the love of your creator every time you share grace, because there's something about grace that lifts you up. It's something about grace that moves you into a place where you can't even imagine because of grace. When you become open to grace, grace becomes open to you. And when grace is open to you, there are other people that's going to just share grace. They'll say something like, you know what? I love the energy that I see from you. What they're saying is, I love your light. They're going to say, I love the way, you light up a room. They see your grace. They see how great you are, because you're not going there with negativity. You're uplifting people each and every day. And because you're sharing that grace with the world will share their grace with you. Because you're being patient and loving God, through grace, he's going to do the exact same thing. Guys, listen, I can't share this enough with you. The power of grace is something that is so remarkable. I see it each and every day in my life, and I continue to do it and do it and do it and do it. I want to make sure as I share this particular podcast with you from all of my people all over the world, just share grace. Just share grace. Just share grace. I'm telling you, grace is going to help you in places you never thought you would have help in. So listen, guys, that's going to conclude our podcast for today. Remember the power of grace. Number one, brings forth compassion. Number two, it brings forth kind words. Number three, it brings forth timely provision. Number four, it brings forth courteous deeds. Number five, it brings forth patience. And then we understand patience is the companion to wisdom. So, guys, I hope you guys really understood why I wanted to share this particular podcast with you. It's so much that I want to share, but I don't want to just overdo it. I want us to just sit, marinate, research, and study grace. If you're listening to the podcast and you're driving, go back and re-listen to this podcast. If you listen to it, go back and listen to it again. Study it. Look at what grace is. Look at where it is. Grace is sufficient for you, and his strength is made perfect in weakness. Listen, guys, I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for what y'all do for the podcast, what y'all do for me, how y'all help me grow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Listen, if you have an opportunity, I ask that you will share this with as many people as you can. Go to my YouTube channel. Be one of my subscribers if you don't mind. Go to all of my social media platforms and be a subscriber. I'm asking just to be a subscriber. That's all. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a click. It's a click. And I will continue to bring you guys as much content as God continues to allow me to bring. I appreciate you guys. To all of my guests that's ever been on. Y'all know we doing it big. We got more guests that's coming. I'm excited about them coming. I want to do a special shout out at the end of this podcast because I want to share grace with my mentor himself. He wrote a book called The Mindset of a Champion. I love my mentor dearly. And this is one of the most powerful books that I've ever read, not written. I wish I could write like this, but one of the most powerful books I've ever read. If you guys do me a favor, I don't get any percentage off this. I don't get no monies off of this, but because of what he's done for me and how he's continuously helping me grow, would you guys do me a big favor? Go to Amazon and just purchase The Mindset of a Champion by Sam E. Oram. The Mindset of a Champion by Sam E. Oram. It's an amazing book. It's going to help you tremendously in so many different areas. He's done a lot of research. He's done a lot of studying to put this book together. If you're looking at YouTube, you can see it. I got highlights and all of those other things. So you see the book. I'm trying to avoid the camera. There you go. So if you see the book, just go and purchase it. Study it, read it. It's going to be incredible. Again, I'm not getting nothing off the book. I don't get a percentage, but it's going to help you tremendously. And I want to show grace and just do something nice for him because he's always pouring into me. All right. So listen, guys, go to all of my social media platforms, follow me, like me, subscribe, share it, holler at somebody, tell them we on the air and all of those other good things. So listen, we're going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys so much. I really, really do. So listen, with that being said, y'all know my intro and outro music is the greatest of all time. So I appreciate you guys. Get ready for the outro music. I love you guys. I will see you guys next week. I pray that this one was the one that really took you to that next level. With that being said, y'all have a great week. We're about to take it back to the street, and I'll see y'all next Monday. God bless. Let's go. Take it on to the streets. Let's go.